Let's start while people are still connecting. Let's start with a brief presentation of today's event. And since this is a Zoom meeting, I ask all the participants to stay on mute throughout the session, but you can open your microphone if you have a question, or better, ask in the chat if you have a question, or raise your hand. We will stick to our plan. So we will complete our session in about 50 minutes, and then we should have about 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. So you should have time for to ask any questions at the end. But without further ado, just a brief introduction of Digital Fashion Academy, who is the organizer and sponsor of this event. Digital Fashion Academy is an international platform for fashion professionals who have an interest in continuous development and sharing their skills with other professionals like you, who are keen in keep learning and stay up to date with the latest fashion industry business trends. Today, we talk about marketing performance, and in particular, how to track and measure the performance of marketing activities, digital marketing, but also traditional marketing activities in the light of the recent changes with cookieless and other changes in measuring platforms who are becoming less efficient in tracking our marketing campaigns. And from January, we will also find a digital marketing training course on our platform, www.digitalfashionacademy.com. And without further ado, I introduce the speakers today, who are Jacopo Laganga from Pinko, Michele Evangelista from Storeis, and Tim Krayenkamp from Funnel. They're all well-established professionals from different areas of business, from a brand, from a marketing agency, and from a service provider specializing in marketing solutions. And today we start with Michele. So Michele, we have a chat immediately. Michele, I stop sharing and you can start sharing.
Sure, thank you. I share it right away. Okay, so welcome everybody. So I'll start with a brief recap of how this session will be structured. I'll be introducing the topic, and I'll tell you about how we see this evolving measurement landscape from an agency perspective. So how we approach the topic with our clients as consultants. Then Tim will dive deeper. Tim from Funnel will dive deeper into marketing mix modeling and their data hub solution. And then Jacopo from Pinko will tell more about a case study we developed together regarding marketing mix modeling and advanced measurement in general. So I'll start with some questions that we as consultants, as an agency, we get asked a lot by our clients. Typically, that's the reason why we decided to invest more into understanding and studying this kind of new topics regarding marketing measurement. So the topic is clients ask us about how to better invest their money in different channels. So for example, we get asked a lot, how much revenues does a channel generate for us? How much should we invest on a certain channel for the next product launch? Or should we reallocate budget from a certain channel to another? And how can we decide how much should we move from one channel to the other? Also, a difficult one and also quite common one is how how much incremental revenue do we generate by investing in branded paid search? Because um, the typical question is, would this user buy anyway, even if we didn't invest in branded paid search? Also, in general, the questions we get asked are, how do we balance the investments between demand generation campaigns like awareness campaigns and demand collection campaigns like performance marketing? And also when we need to cut our spending because there are difficult times sometimes. Where is it best to cut spending to save money, but also to minimize, let's say, collateral damage, or in general, not reduce performance by too much. In general, what we understood, trying to understand these questions as consultants, we understood that we usually have answers to certain kinds of questions, but not all of them. For example, we can easily tell what is the monetary return for digital campaigns on digital channels. We can easily tell what's the impact of branding and awareness campaign on soft KPIs like engage people, like impressions, like video views, and so on. And we can balance traffic sources based on what we see on Google Analytics, so last touch measurement, or what we see in direct e-commerce revenues. What we are not usually able to answer easily is the incremental impact question. So how do we understand how much incremental impact do certain campaign types generate on the e-commerce or even on the offline stores, so on the retail channel? How much impact does the awareness campaign have on the sales? And also, how do we balance different channels, considering the incremental impact that they have on sales? So, trying to answer these questions, what we can do is to approach different solutions, different tools that tells us different answers. For example, when we look into Google Analytics to have an insight about budget allocation, usually the answer the tool can give us is to invest more in the lower funnel, because that's the kind of campaigns that Google Analytics can track more efficiently because it's click based. So it can track only click based activities, and then it suggests to invest more in this kind of campaigns. If we look at the media vendors, so Google Ads, Meta, TikTok, whatever, we usually see that the specific vendor tries to convince us that they are providing value, they are giving value, and then we should invest more in that specific channel. So what we try to do as an agency is to balance different perspectives in a healthy way, let's say. We try to spot clues about how each channel performs, given its goal. So if it's more of an awareness channel, we look at softer KPIs. If it's more performance channel, we look at hard KPIs. But it's difficult to have the same way to judge all the different channels. Uh, Also, there are some issues nowadays with that impact how measurement works in the digital ecosystem, because you all know that the privacy regulations are becoming stricter every year. So because of that, the all the digital platforms and in general browsers, mobile app providers, and so on adapt to these privacy regulations. So they implement technological evolutions that limit our capability to track users and then understand the digital attribution. And also some tools sometimes are not always in top shape. So for example, Google Analytics is with its change from Universal to GA4 is now in a, let's say, in a always changing situation. It's not always in top shape. I have some bugs, so we are limited also on that side. So what can we do beside trying to spot clues about the effectiveness of the campaigns? We can have two different approaches to answer different questions. So we try to think of it this way. When we need to measure the impact of a single channel, so when the question is what is the incremental impact of YouTube, for example, or of a specific campaign during a specific period in time, the right tool for this question is the conversion lift study approach. So this is one of the, let's say, advanced measurement approaches that we can use to answer this. And essentially, it's an experimental approach. It's like an A/B test, where we deliver the campaign to certain users, the treatment group, and we don't deliver the campaign to a control group, so another pool of users, and we measure the difference. So when we can then say that the difference in revenue, in conversions, in sales was based on was caused by the fact that we did the campaign. We can do this by segmenting users into treatment and control groups using a user-based approach that platforms like Google, Meta, and TikTok can offer, because they are able to recognize users in the digital ecosystem. Or when we can't do that because we want to test a different channel, for example, we can do geo-lift testing. So mm, we can segment for example, a certain country into different regions that see the ad, and certain regions that don't see the ad, and then again measure the difference once the campaign finishes. So that's how we measure the impact of a specific campaign in a
Ciao, domanda
specific
che non
audience.
c'entra nulla con le VIP. E per Parigi, domani mando la newsletter a quelle 140 clienti. Io faccio
Right? Okay, I can go ahead. Then the second approach is the approach, let's say, to understand not the impact of a single channel, but to understand what is the aggregated impact of marketing on business results. So now the focus is not on the single channel, but on the overall impact. And the tool for this approach is marketing mix modeling. That's the main topic of today's lesson session. So MMM, we see more with Tim afterwards, but MMM has a statistical approach. So it's a way to model the past data that we have, to try to understand what was in the past, and then in the future, the impact of the different marketing activities on a business KPI like sales. So its main point of attention that it is an aggregated approach and holistic, because it can consider all channels together in the same way. So I have also some do's and don'ts for MMM, because there are many. It's a hot topic today. So what MMM is, for sure, as I just mentioned, has an holistic approach and a full funnel view, meaning that it can consider all kinds of campaigns and all kinds of marketing activities in the same way, both awareness campaigns and performance campaigns. It allows you to seamlessly blend digital and non-digital world, because at the end, what you want to model can be the digital sales, or the offline sales, or altogether the omni-channel sales. You can consider all the channels in the same way. And in general, it allows you to find the most credible interpretations of what happened in the past and why it happened. And then because of that, it has a strategic approach. It can help question the overall budget allocation, and yeah, help a few questions about how and if you allocated budget correctly in the past. What it is not, but we can overcome some of these limits with other approaches, is it's not accurate in point estimates for the single channels because it has more of a focus on the overall view. It's not granular on campaign performance, meaning that it can only tell you the performance about aggregated channels, let's say. And then because of this, it's not really a quick and tactical tool for campaign optimization, but more of a strategic tool. So it's not the only solution for the measurement questions that we all have. So we can have a brief comparison on the three main measurement approaches that we can see today. We already talked about modeling and experiments, and of course we also have attribution, which is the traditional approach we can see in Google Analytics and similar tools. So modeling has the advantage, as we mentioned, that it's cross-channel, it's broad in measurement. So that's the main advantage of this approach. While experiments have their advantage in accuracy because they can measure the specific channel impact and incrementality with the most specific way. And attribution has its strength in speed, meaning that it can provide you data in real time, let's say, and that's why. And thanks to that, we can have tools like smart bidding and campaign optimization that run automatically. So that's certainly not something that's going to go away soon, but should be integrated into let's say, a holistic measurement approach to include all the three measurement pillars, let's say. Then one last point I want to stress is just a quick step back, because to do advanced measurement with tools like this, you certainly need to have the data structured in a way that you can then quickly activate it. So that's how we see the evolution in a company data maturity roadmap. So we see that many companies do this kind of sequential approach. That once they master the data collection, so they collect all the digital and non-digital data in a reliable and structured way, then they structure a unified repository where they can have all their data together to analyze with dashboards and also to find insights. And once you have this structured repository, you can activate this data also with advanced measurements. So that's for sure an investment that companies need to make in order to be able to activate this data for the future. So and that's all for my part. I'm passing the microphone to Tim from Funnel.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Michele. That was very insightful already. I hope I can even add anything more to that. And let me just quickly actually share my screen before we move on. And right, here we are. Right. Can everyone see my screen? Or Michele, can you see my screen? Great. Perfect. Right. So if you have listened closely to Michele, which I hope you have, we're going to write a test about this later. You might have noticed that he was often talking about finding clues or looking for clues or finding insights. And I think that's actually something very important to note here, that when we talk about marketing measurement, we don't talk about an exact science. Marketing measurement is not like measuring air quality, where you can actually have some you have some instruments that have been calibrated in some way, and you can actually find out the exact, let's say, exact level of pollution that exists in the air. Or to take a different example, when you measure how fast the car is going, you can get a really, really accurate deterministic assessment of that. Marketing measurement, although it's also called measurement, it is actually quite different. In marketing measurement, and I really hate to break this to you, we can never find the real truth, right? Why not? Because in order to assess the real truth, we would need to have an alternative universe that is otherwise exactly the same as the real universe, just without a specific marketing channel. Then we could know. However, we don't have that. And once we don't have that, we actually need to use quite a few sophisticated statistical methodologies. But most importantly, we need to acknowledge their limitations and combine them together in order to be a bit more certain about how close we are to some truth, and in order to kind of overcome this limitation. And by the way, that is actually not unique to marketing measurement only. So if you economics, by the way, you can also only approximate the truth. So a lot of the techniques that we use in marketing measurement, they actually come from economics. So for example, if let's say you are a country or you're governing a country, you are the head of the central bank, and you change something about the interest rates, you can never be really sure that any of the effect that you observe will be actually due to your raising or lowering the interest rate and not to anything else. So marketing mix modeling or marketing measurement is in that way quite similar, which in some cases can be a bit frustrating, but it's also what makes it challenging. So why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because on this slide we have unified marketing measurement, and based on Data Hub, which is something I will come to later. But unified marketing measurement means we are not focusing on just one technique, but we are combining different techniques in order to kind of encirculate or triangulate the truth. And one of these techniques, which is often in recent times is often the backbone or the workhorse of this whole measurement endeavor, is marketing mix modeling. Marketing mix modeling is a statistical technique that has been developed, I think, quite a while ago already, in a more rudimentary form. I think it existed already in the 1950s. Originally, I think intended to measure the impact of TV advertising, but nowadays we use it to essentially holistically evaluate the entire marketing mix. And essentially what we're doing here is we are building up a time series of all our marketing investments, and we try to correlate that using regression analysis. We try to correlate that and establish a statistical relationship between media input and sales or revenue output. And that is a model, but it's a slightly, let's say it's a slightly more advanced model than, for example, in-platform attribution, what you see in Google Ads. That's also based on a model. What you see in Google Ads is the model behind that usually is that anything that has been remotely touched by Google Ads in terms of conversion belongs to Google Ads. So it only knows about Google Ads, the attribution that you see within the Ads Manager. But marketing mix modeling, it tries to take this several steps further by actually taking into account all the different marketing channels to establish a statistical model and then be able to isolate the impact of individual channels by looking at all of them holistically. And by the way, also looking at other factors such as the interest rates I mentioned beforehand, or other macroeconomic or environmental factors that could also impact sales. So what's this stuff all about? Let's actually unpack this. So this is an example of a marketing mix model formulation, so to say, where we try to describe or predict sales, which is this Y over here, YT, because it's over time, it's measured over time. We try to express that as a function or model it as a function of advertising and non-advertising variables. So as you can imagine, advertising or media is quite important, but it's really not the only thing that can influence sales. So for example, if you're a fashion brand, which I think is most relevant to this audience, you typically sell quite a bit in different phases of the year. So for example, Christmas, usually in the Western Hemisphere, is going very strong. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which we just had, that's a very strong period. and then you have your collection launches, you have your season beginnings and your season closing sales, but then in between that, there's maybe not so much going on. So you need to really account for this in your model in order to make sure you get a more precise estimate of your marketing efficiency or effectiveness, because if you wouldn't, you would kind of confuse the effect of the seasonality that you naturally have in your business with the effect of the individual media. So it's quite crucial to account for more than just advertising in your marketing mix model. And really what you're going to account for, that is really dependent on the vertical and the business that you're in. So for example, if you're selling, let's say your bank and you're selling credits, you're actually really dependent on the central bank interest rate, because that determines your own interest rates. You're going to be really dependent on that. When, however, you are selling ice cream, you may be much more dependent on the weather than anything else. So it's quite important to account for this, and it's very unique to each individual business. Then, of course, you're doing this, it's called marketing mix modeling. You're doing this in order to assess the impact of the advertising. So you also need to include data on advertising in the marketing mix model itself. And typically what we do when we do marketing mix modeling, we don't just put the advertising or media spend in there like that. We also account for some effects that we know are usually there when it comes to advertising. And that is typically the so-called ad stock effect. That essentially means that advertising has impact beyond this immediate time period in which it was aired. So to make that more concrete, let's say, for example, you have a TV spot, you air it today, the money or the media spend, it occurs today, but tomorrow, the day after 2 weeks, people still remember your spot, ideally, of course, and still buy because they remember the spot. And that kind of decay effect, that is called ad stock, and we try to account for that using the algorithm and the patterns in the data. We actually try to find this ad stock effect. Then there's also the so-called saturation effect, which is quite important. That essentially means that you cannot endlessly scale a media budget in any specific channel. But usually what happens is that the more money you spend, the less the marginal effectiveness of that channel gets. So if you invest more money, eventually the effect will not be as pronounced anymore once you spend more, and that is what's called the saturation effect. So it's important to account for all of these effects in your marketing mix model. So if you ever get to the situation in the company that you work for to select a marketing mix modeling vendor, it's quite important to ask them, like, hey, how do you do ad stock? Which control variables do you include? And how do you account for saturation? Now, again, as I said in the beginning, it's not an exact science, and that's why we need to combine methods. And that's what we do using what is called triangulation. So triangulation, that word or that framework, that mental model, that essentially comes from, I think it comes from that method that you use when you have different cell phone towers. You have 3 cell phone towers, and you want to approximate location of a specific phone. You need 3 towers, and then you can approximate the location quite closely. And so we marketers or marketing effectiveness professionals, we are not that creative. So we borrowed the term from them. And essentially what it means is that we have different methods that tell us different things about the marketing effectiveness, but they all have their weaknesses. But we know their weaknesses. We know in which areas they're weak. We know in which areas they are strong. And that's why we can combine them in a smart way in order to overcome the weaknesses and play up their strengths. And that's exactly what we're doing. Marketing mix modeling, it's great to capture non-marketing effects, offline channels as well, but it's quite limited in the granularity that it can actually deliver because we don't have so many data points there. Multi-touch distribution, it is based on a lot of user journeys, a lot of customer journeys. So what we can do with it, we can get very granular insights on a campaign level or keyword level even, but only for digital channels. Obviously, we can only track what is digital. And we also have some problems with tracking where, as Michele mentioned, there's some technical barriers or regulatory barriers that prevent us from accurate tracking. So multi-touch attribution being based on that, it becomes less accurate. And then we have incrementality tests, which are great because they're probably the most precise way of measuring if done right and if you can actually do it. But they incur some opportunity cost, and you can't test everything all the time. So the only thing that they give you is a point-in-time estimate, although very accurate. We can't do that all the time. That's why we need the other methods still. And then what we do is we actually try to kind of calibrate and inform the methods with each other in order to arrive at a very holistic picture of our marketing effectiveness. For all of this stuff, we need data, and the better and the faster we can get that data, the more effective this entire marketing effectiveness project becomes. Which is why a couple of months ago I used to work for a company called Retriever. We did only the measurement part. Then we got bought by Funnel. Funnel does the data hub part as well. So what Funnel does is they connect to all the marketing platforms like Facebook, Google, whatever, collect the data, clean it, and then actually use it to power the measurement solution, which is a massive difference because otherwise you would spend a lot of time getting and cleaning data and not so much time doing actual measurement. So that's actually a crucial driver of the success of this project, which Michaela also mentioned before. And this is a sales slide. So just that that I'm not making this up out of thin air. We actually have quite a few clients already optimize their marketing effectiveness with our help. One final thing that I wanted to mention, I mentioned in the beginning that marketing mix modeling, it has been around for a while. So naturally, you might think, right, okay, this is apparently old news. So why do we need this still? And despite all the other, or in addition to all the other benefits that I've mentioned already, there's one more benefit, and that one is actually that it actually enables us to focus a bit more on the brand. So back a couple of years back, about 10 years ago, people would only trust what they could actually track digitally, which was highly restricted to very lower funnel or bottom funnel activities like retargeting, branded search, and all of that. Looked very effective or looked very efficient. However, you can't grow a brand like Gucci or Mercedes-Benz or Prada just using retargeting, right? I mean, everyone knows that. And because marketing mix modeling can include offline channels as well, it kind of leads to a renaissance of brand marketing because now you have a better way to measure it, and you can focus on stuff that actually grows your brand, grows your business, and not just reactivates people that would have bought anyway. So it's actually a nice side effect of marketing mix modeling, and I hope that we'll see more interesting marketing campaigns in the future because marketers now know due to MMM that they actually work. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Jacopo. Thanks a lot for listening, everyone.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Tim. So it's time to move on to a brand case study and experience. Jacopo Laganga from Pinko. Welcome back.
Hi, everybody. First of all, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for inviting me and the opportunity, and hi, everybody. So I'm here to talk about the case studies, but not only about that, but I'm happy to share the pain points that everybody we are seeing in this market, because nowadays I believe that tracking and measurement in a very real and democratic way is one of the huge pain point we all see, considering the cookie, ITP, and all the restriction that we have with the tracking, but also because all the channels, talking about digital channels, have different attribution model, different way of measuring. And so usually we end up by using Google Analytics, for example, which also has some limitations. It's the easiest and fastest way to see website behavior and digital marketing results. But if you come to measuring the results that huge campaigns that every fashion brand is doing a couple of times a year to promote the advertising campaign and the new collection, it becomes very hard. So this is where we have started the case study. So basically, we wanted to measure the impact in terms of sales. So we decided to focus on the offline sales. So Pinko.com and our direct operating store. The impact of this brand upper funnel campaign on the omnichannel sales. And so we have started this journey together with Storeis and Funnel. So we identified one market, because you have to be very specific with marketing mix model. So you have to define your goal, you have to define the market, and when you define a market, it has to be very detailed. What I mean for that, you need like a breakdown into city, because you have to calculate the return that is coming at granular geographical level. Then you have to track and record all the activities that you have made in every channels, offline and online, because at the end we want to track also, for example, the impact of an out-of-home campaign, which is technically impossible because you don't have like a click or something like that. So this is where marketing mix modeling comes to us to help with creating the statistical modeling to understand the correlation between an investment and the result. So, and this is what we did. So first of all, you need a lot of data, as been said by everybody during this webinar. So you need data, you need granular data, and you have to act fast. So you need like a repository like BI to access and share this data actively, okay? Because we want to measure something that happened in the past and the results that happen after a certain period of time. And so we started with this with the branding campaigns, focusing on the advertising campaign, and where so we invested in many channels. Here we have a sample of the channel breakdowns. And so basically, as you can see, there are a lot. So, and we want to measure the effectiveness of one channel compared to the spend that we have allocated. And so from this chart, from this slide, you can see that there are a lot. Some are online, offline. So we have print, outdoor, all the digital channel like Google, and so we have tracked the correlation between the spending and the result that we have tracked. And then starting from this is not ended. Actually, this is just a starting point, because with this we can identify channel that has high effect share, and so we can say, okay, this should be a channel that we should run the incrementality test, because as we have seen in the past slides, marketing mix modeling can give you an overview, but you then need to run as many incrementality tests as possible. Because with that, you can understand in a more precise way the impact of that specific channel. And so you can calibrate and correct the model. The model is something that, this is like, this slide is the beginning, okay? It's not, okay, I copy paste, I share to the CEO, and this is the result. This is the starting point, okay? Because with that, you have to identify channels that in this specific campaign have performed better. And so you can then run as many incrementality tests as possible in order to understand if with the incrementality test, the results that we have seen with the first run of marketing mix model will be confirmed. So we can correct the model in a plus or minus way. And then you move to another channel, another channel, another channel. And one thing that is very, very important to highlight, it's not a project that you run once and then you see the picture and this will last forever. Absolutely no. As you do every day or by accessing a GA4 every day, this is an always-on activity. Otherwise, it's just showing you a picture. A picture is great, but it's not enough to really get all the insight and take the decision moving forward, like reallocating budget, changing the strategy, because this can also help you with taking new choice in the new campaigns that will happen. And then you have to focusing on the real incrementality. So what if is the question. So what if I'm not investing on Google exact match? This is one of the toughest question that is we always think, or sometimes we also hear from our top management. So we are spending a lot on covering the exact match keywords from Google. And if you look at the Google Ads report, it's always the campaign that is performing better with the highest ROAS, but you are counting only on the Google Ads attribution model. And it's not real, it's just a portion. And so the question is, and should be always, what if I'm not investing on Google exact match and covering very hot keywords, because this is targeting someone that is looking for your brand. And so you have to, again, to start to run an incrementality test, which, for example, is like identifying a specific region in your country and deciding to run the incrementality test, which was also showed before by Michele. So you decide to show the ad to test, do not show to a control group. Someone is seeing the ad, someone is not seeing. At the end, if you see that who has seen the ad is performing better, it's generating an incremental revenue. And so you can identify that Google is one channel that is generating an incrementality ROAS and generating incremental revenue. And so at the end, you are going to correct, to calibrate your marketing mix model. And again, so you have to iterate and again and again and again. So it should be like embedded into your way of planning campaigns, analyzing, reallocate budget, and then at the end, measuring the result. We have made this first project with Storeis. More to come. We want to, of course, make a new round with the new advertising campaign that is coming now during February, where we'll test the same channel that we tested in the first round, and we will also test a new one. It's also very important that content, the creativity, the asset, it's making a big thing to consider, because if you have like a static imagery, it's different than if you have like a video, fashion film, something like that. So it's always very important to consider also the content, because at the end, it's what the user is seeing. So I believe, this is my personal point of view, that is also very important to work on that, making sure that the content that you create and where you allocate money is always the best, and making sure that if you want to compare one channel, like, I don't know, YouTube, making sure that you are comparing the content that are comparable. So this is all very quickly. If you have any question, I'm more than happy to respond, and I will pass the stage to Enrico, I guess.
Yes. Thank you,
Okay.
Jacopo. Thank you so much. This is very like incredible insights and very valuable knowledge. We're all like fashion professionals here, and I invite everybody to write questions in the chat or raise your hand if you have questions. In the meantime, I wanted to ask a couple of questions in the first place. One, it's let's say very straightforward, because this is one of the questions the brands with whom I collaborate with, they're asking me, and it's how do we solve the problem of the double reporting of sales between Google Ads, Google Network, and Meta? Okay, maybe Michele wants to chip in this question. And then the second question is, I think, Jacopo, you mentioned a very interesting example, right? When you do advertising on a billboard, like out of the door, yes, you don't know exactly who will walk by or will drive by in the car. So your in target audience on the billboard, maybe it's a small percentage of the total number of people who see your ad. At the same time, fashion brands invest money in opening directly operated stores on very important streets in different cities of the world. And sometimes these bricks and mortar stores, they are profitable, so they repair their investment. Let's remember that it takes us a lot of capex money, capital expenses, to set up a proper store in an important street. And sometimes these stores are not even reaching break even. But I heard it from an investor saying, when you open a store in an important city, it's like a marketing investment. So are we able, and this is a question for you, Jacopo, but also Tim, are we able to measure the return on investment in terms of marketing performance and brand awareness building by opening a store in a city? So two questions. Who wants to start?
Well, I can start with the first one. So the double reporting of conversions. So if I understood the question, is like when you see the same conversion reported in two different platforms. So
Yes.
that's exactly what happens when you look at what a certain platform sees from their point of view and what another platform sees from their point of view. So since Google Ads cannot see all the conversions, they can they can only see the conversions that they were involved with. And also Meta does the same. So that's why you need to have an external measurement tool that can be at the very basic, can be Google Analytics or any analytics tool that can judge and decide which channel had the most impact. So that's the let's say that's the multi-touch attribution challenge, that can decide which channel has had the most impact on driving the conversion, and then attribute that conversion to that to one channel and not on the other. Of course, that's how attribution works. But with more advanced approaches, you can let's say have more or better data to understand the impact of different channels, not only based on the fact that the user clicked on an ad, but also on the impressions and on other KPIs.
Thank you, Michele. And for the second question, who wants to start? Yeah.
Me, of course. Thank you for the great question, Enrico. Most of the time, stores are not profitable. This is a truth. So actually, the case that you have raised is actually a case that you can use for a marketing mix modeling. And the kind of data that you can input are many, and also the way you can then track the results as well. Let me share some example. So you can add, for example, if you do special events for that specific store, it's similar like to an investment on Google, as well as a window. If you do some big Windows coverage, if you do local CRM activation as well, then you can track sales generated, but also you can track the offline conversion coming from ads campaign. And this is something that you can do, for example, easily. Again, you need a lot of data, and you need to integrate Meta with your CRM, but you can run ads, and then you can track the conversion made in store, and how you link this to, well, when a user is coming to the cashier for the payment, is giving you like the email, then you register the email. This email is linked to the email that you have on Meta, for example, if it's the same one, of course. And then this is returning back with the offline conversion. So at the end, of course, you need a lot of data, but you can create a specific marketing mix modeling case with this objective.
Yes, very interesting. And also, one of the participants also asked if we have insights, if you guys have insights on the impact on investments in fashion shows. Maybe, Tim, you want to add something on top?
Yeah, and I think what I can add here relates both to stores as well as to fashion shows. And so when we talk, I mean, on a, let's say on a more informal level, brands are about emotions, right? Specifically fashion brands, specifically in Italy, is a lot about emotions. And you're probably not going to create emotions with the Google branded ad, right? That is just one line of text in the Google search window. That's exact match, like you said, Jacopo. That's not creating emotions. That's capitalizing on the emotions you created over the last 20 years, right? So let's take, for example, let's take a brand like Prada or Gucci. They invested how long? 50, 60, 100 years, whatever, in order for you to actually go ahead and Google them. And then you're going to see that what you're going to see in your Google Analytics is just you made a sale via Google Exact Match. But actually, there's a lot of investment that has gone into that, like decades even before that click happened. And that like emotions, they need a different home than just the internet, right? So they actually need to come into the real world. And what we talk often about when we talk about successful brands, we talk about mental availability and physical availability. And mental availability essentially means, right? You think about a caffeinated refreshment drink. You think about Coca-Cola, right? Mental availability is through the roof. But then you actually need to be able to also buy it, right? So that's the physical availability. So you go into the supermarket, they have that, and bringing that together, that makes a successful brand. So how do you measure that? How do you measure this long-term impact? That is unfortunately quite difficult. We all know it's there, but because these impacts or these effects, they are built up over such a long time, that is going to be very difficult to disentangle that, to be very honest with you. So what you can nowadays, these days, we talked about baseline before. So the baseline, that is essentially the effect of all your past brand building activities that go into this baseline. But then kind of to figure out is like how much of that baseline is due to the fashion show you did in the 80s, and how much of it is due to the TV campaign you had 5 months ago. It is going to be difficult to disentangle that, but there are methods. Specific, it's a subset of marketing mix modeling, so-called long-term brand modeling. Meta has a bit of research about that. There are methods, but it's more difficult than just standard marketing mix modeling that measures the more, let's say, short-term to intermediate term impact.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about baseline, I just want to go back to what Jacopo was saying earlier. When people search for branded keywords, like with a brand name on Google, they search for these keywords because there is a brand awareness already. And the brand awareness has been generated all over the years, like you're saying, Tim, in maybe 100 years. So things are strictly connected. So you don't have like a last click performance if you don't have brand awareness before. And the brand awareness needs to be built. And how you build it, how efficiently you build it, how effectively you build it, it depends on the marketing actions that you implement. So brands can open a store in Via della Spiga, or brands can do a collaboration with an important influencer. There are like different ways of building brand awareness and make brand positioning. So we got a couple of minutes left, but I see there are no questions left. So let's just wait a few seconds if there is any last questions. In the meantime, I wanted to thank you all, everybody, especially the speakers, for dedicating this time to creating and sharing knowledge for all fashion professionals around the world. And the guys who have attended today, thanks for listening in. And don't forget to follow Digital Fashion Academy on LinkedIn and our channel. And also, well, thanks again to Michele Evangelista from Storeis, Tim from Funnel, and Jacopo from Pinko. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.